The November rain in Portland came down in sheets as I pulled into my parents' driveway in Lake Oswego, my Honda Civic packed with dishes I'd spent 2 days preparing. Through the fogged windshield, I could see the warm glow of lights inside the house, shadows of people already gathering for Thanksgiving dinner. I sat there for a moment, hands gripping the steering wheel, trying to gather my courage. At 32 years old, I shouldn't need courage to attend my own family's Thanksgiving. But here I was, my stomach in knots, already feeling invisible before I'd even walked through the door. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. "Where are you? Victoria just got here." Of course, Victoria was already here. Victoria, my perfect cousin, who lived in Manhattan and graced us with her presence maybe twice a year. Victoria, who worked in marketing for some big firm and wore designer clothes and had a lawyer fiancé. Victoria, who the family treated like visiting royalty, while I, the one who actually lived in Portland. The one who showed up every single week, was practically furniture. I grabbed the pumpkin pie from the passenger seat, balanced it carefully, then reached into the back for the casserole dishes. The stuffing I'd made from scratch using Grandma Rose's recipe. The green bean casserole with the crispy onions on top. The cranberry sauce I'd simmered for hours until it was perfect. The sweet potato dish with the marshmallow topping that Grandma loved. Nobody had asked me to make all this, but I'd done it anyway, hoping that maybe this year someone would notice, someone would see me. The rain soaked through my sweater in the few seconds it took to get to the porch. I rang the doorbell, my hands were too full to dig for keys, and waited, shivering. Mom opened the door, already talking into her phone. No, the Bordeaux, not the Merlot. Victoria brought champagne. She glanced at me. "Oh good, you're here. Kitchen. Victoria's in the living room. Come say hi." No hug. No hello, sweetheart. No thank you for cooking. Just instructions. I shouldered my way inside, trying not to drop anything. The house smelled like roasting turkey and cinnamon, and I could hear Victoria's laugh from the living room. Bright, confident, the kind of laugh that made everyone turn and smile. In the kitchen, my younger sister Jennifer was arranging store-bought cookies on a platter, barely looking up from her phone. "Hey," she said. "Hey." I set my dishes on the counter, looking for space among the clutter. "Can you help me with, sorry, I'm texting Chad. He's stuck at his parents' place." She wandered off, thumbs flying across her screen. I stood alone in the kitchen, reorganizing dishes to make everything fit, listening to the sounds of my family in the next room. All gathered around Victoria, I knew, even before I walked in there. Taking a deep breath, I smoothed down my damp sweater and headed toward the living room. The scene was exactly what I'd expected. Victoria stood by the fireplace, her blonde hair perfectly styled, wearing a cream-colored dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Her engagement ring, a massive diamond that caught every bit of light, flashed as she gestured animatedly. Mom, Dad, Aunt Linda, Uncle Frank, my brother Marcus and his wife Beth. Everyone was gathered around her like she was holding court. And then Richard said, "Why don't we just buy the whole company?" So we did. The acquisition closed last week, and I'm heading the entire marketing division now. Victoria's laugh tinkled through the room. "That's incredible, honey." Aunt Linda beamed with pride. "You always were destined for great things," Dad said, smiling at his niece in a way he never quite smiled at me. I stood in the doorway, waiting for someone to notice me. 30 seconds passed. A minute. "Sarah." Grandma Rose's voice cut through the chatter. She was sitting in the corner armchair, the one by the window, and her whole face lit up when she saw me. I crossed the room quickly, bending down to hug her. "There's my girl," she whispered, squeezing me tight. Her hands were frail, but her hug was strong. "You look beautiful. So do you, Grandma." And she did. Her silver hair freshly set, wearing her favorite purple cardigan and the pearl earrings Grandpa had given her 50 years ago. "Oh, Sarah, you're here," Mom said, as if she hadn't just let me in 5 minutes ago. "Victoria was telling us about her promotion. Isn't it wonderful?" "Congratulations," I managed, looking at my cousin. Victoria glanced over, her smile perfectly practiced. "Sarah, how are you?" She air-kissed near my cheek, careful not to actually touch. "You look comfortable. Are you still doing that admin thing?" My jaw tightened. "I'm an administrative assistant at Morrison and Associates. It's going well." "Oh, that's nice." Her tone made it clear she thought it was anything but. "Still in that apartment in Hawthorne?" "Yes. So cozy. I could never do small spaces." Richard and I just bought a loft in Tribeca, 3,000 square feet, floor-to-ceiling windows. You can see the whole city. You should visit sometime. She'd been saying that for 5 years. The invitation never materialized. The conversation flowed back to Victoria, her apartment, her job, her wedding plans, her life. I sat down next to Grandma, feeling the familiar weight of invisibility settle over me like a blanket. Grandma reached over and squeezed my hand. She saw me. She always had. For the next hour, I helped Mom in the kitchen while Victoria held court in the living room. I basted the turkey, mashed the potatoes, stirred the gravy. Mom directed me like a staff member, barely acknowledging the work I was doing. Sarah, can you check the rolls? Sarah, we need more ice. Sarah, set the table. I set the table with Mom's good china, the pieces I'd helped her pick out at an estate sale last month. We'd spent the whole afternoon together, and it had been nice, just us, talking and laughing. I'd thought maybe we were connecting, that she was finally seeing me as more than just the reliable daughter who lived nearby. But now she was back in the living room with Victoria, and I was alone with the silverware. When everything was finally ready, Mom called everyone to the dining room. I stood back watching them file in, and that's when I saw it, the seating arrangement. At the head of the table sat Dad, as always. To his right was the seat of honor, the spot reserved for the most important guest, the one with the best view of both the food and the fireplace, the comfortable chair with the cushioned back. Victoria was already settling into it, still talking about her corner office in Manhattan. I looked at the place cards Mom had written in her careful script. There I was, squeezed between Uncle Frank, who always talked with his mouth full, and Jennifer, who would be on her phone the whole time. At the far end of the table, away from Grandma, who was seated on the opposite side near Aunt Linda, the worst seats in the house. Victoria, who visited twice a year, who'd never helped Grandma with anything, who barely knew what was happening in any of our lives, got the best seat. The seat that should have gone to Grandma, or at least to someone who actually showed up for this family. Something inside my chest cracked, like ice breaking on a frozen lake. I sat down mechanically, my hands trembling slightly as I unfolded my napkin. Around me, everyone settled in, complimenting Mom on the beautiful table, the wonderful smell, the perfect turkey. Everything looks amazing, Karen, Aunt Linda said. You've really outdone yourself this year. I'd made half this meal. I'd spent hours days in the kitchen. But Mom just smiled and accepted the compliment without correcting her. Well, I had a little help, Mom said vaguely, not even looking at me. Dad started carving the turkey. Dishes were passed around. Conversation hummed along, centered entirely on Victoria. Tell us more about the wedding plans, honey, Aunt Linda urged. Victoria launched into a detailed description of her venue search. We're thinking the Plaza, but Richard's mother wants the St. Regis, ... I looked down at my plate. The stuffing I'd made Grandma's special recipe that I'd learned from her, spending hours getting it exactly right. It's there, and nobody had mentioned it. The cranberry sauce, the sweet potatoes. Everything I'd contributed was just ... there, unacknowledged. Sarah made the stuffing, Grandma said loudly, clearly trying to include me in the conversation. It's her special recipe. Tastes just like I used to make. Marcus took a bite. It's good, he said absently, not even looking at me, his attention still on Victoria's wedding story. That was it. That was all I got. I set down my fork. My hands had stopped trembling. They were perfectly steady now. Everything felt very clear, very calm. I couldn't do this anymore. I couldn't sit here for the next 3 hours, invisible and unappreciated, while everyone fawned over Victoria. I couldn't pretend this was normal, that this was okay, that I was okay with being treated like I didn't matter. 8 years. 8 years of being Grandma's primary caretaker. 8 years of showing up every Wednesday for groceries and doctor's appointments and fixing TVs and changing light bulbs. 8 years of Sunday dinners and family birthdays and helping Mom with whatever she needed. 8 years of being the reliable one, the one who stayed local, the one who was always there. And I got the worst seat at the table. I stood up. The conversation stopped. Everyone turned to look at me. Sarah? Mom's voice was sharp with confusion. What are you doing? I'm leaving. My voice came out steady, clear. What? Don't be ridiculous. We haven't even started eating properly. I looked around the table at all their faces, confused, annoyed, embarrassed. Not one of them understood. I spent 2 days cooking for this dinner, I said. 2 days. I made the stuffing from scratch, the cranberry sauce, the green bean casserole, the sweet potatoes. I've spent the last 8 years taking care of Grandmommy, not any of you. I'm the one who shows up every single week. I'm the one who's here when anyone needs anything. And what do I get? The worst seat at the table. Not even a thank you. Not even an acknowledgement that I exist. Sarah, that's not, Mom started, her face flushing. Yes, it is. I turned to Victoria, who was staring at me with her mouth slightly open. You visit twice a year and get treated like royalty. I'm here every week and I'm invisible. I'm done. I'm done shrinking myself to make everyone else comfortable. I'm done being taken for granted. Young lady, you're being very rude, Dad said, his voice stern. Sit down right now. I ignored him and turned to Grandma, who was watching me with eyes that looked sad, but also proud. Grandma, I said quietly. I'm leaving. Do you want to come with me? The silence that fell over the table was deafening. Grandma Rose looked at me for a long moment. Then she looked at the rest of the family, at her daughter, my mom, at Aunt Linda, at her grandchildren, at the place setting in front of her that nobody had thought to adjust for her arthritis-stiffened hands. Slowly, deliberately, she pushed back her chair and stood up. Yes, she said clearly. I believe I do. The explosion was immediate. Mom, Aunt Linda gasped. You can't be serious. Grandma, come on, don't be dramatic, Marcus said uncomfortably. Sarah's just being sensitive. Rose, think about what you're doing, Dad said, standing up now too. This is family dinner. Exactly, Grandma said, her voice stronger than I'd heard it in months. This is family dinner, and Sarah is family. She's been more family to me than any of you in years. She's the one who drives me to doctor's appointments at 6 in the morning. She's the one who helps me with my groceries, who fixes things around my house, who calls me every single day to make sure I'm okay. And you people couldn't even give her a decent seat at the table. She walked over to me, and I helped her with her coat, my hands shaking again now, but with adrenaline, not fear. Rose, please, Mom said, and for the first time she actually looked worried. Let's all calm down and talk about this. We've been talking, Grandma said. For years, you've been telling Sarah what to do, where to sit, what to bring, how to help. But you never ask her how she's doing. You never thank her. You never see her. She buttoned her coat with fingers that fumbled only slightly. Well, I see her, and I'm leaving with her. This is absolutely ridiculous. Aunt Linda stood up, her face red. Over a seating arrangement? Really? It's not about the seat, I said quietly. It's about what the seat represents. It's about being valued, about being seen. I took Grandma's arm, and together we walked toward the door. Behind us, the family erupted in protests and arguments. Sarah, if you walk out that door, Dad started. Then I walk out the door, I finished. I'll talk to you all when you're ready to actually see me. When you're ready to treat me like I matter. Victoria was still sitting in her seat of honor, looking completely stunned. For once, she had nothing to say. Mom followed us to the door. Sarah, please. You're making a scene. Think about what you're doing. I turned to look at her. I have thought about it. For 8 years I've thought about it. I'm done thinking. I'm doing. And with that, Grandma and I walked out into the rain. We got into my car, both of us soaked within seconds. I started the engine, turned on the heat, and just sat there for a moment, my hands on the steering wheel, breathing hard. Then Grandma started laughing. Not a small chuckle, a real, deep, from-the-belly laugh that made her whole body shake. She laughed so hard tears streamed down her face. Oh, Sarah, she gasped between fits of laughter. Did you see their faces? Did you see Victoria just sitting there like a fish? And despite everything, despite the adrenaline crash I could feel coming, despite the fact that I'd just blown up Thanksgiving dinner, despite not knowing what would happen next, I started laughing too. We sat in my car in my parents' driveway, rain drumming on the roof, laughing until our sides hurt. Where should we go? I finally asked, wiping my eyes. Grandma thought for a moment. You know what I'd really like? Chinese food. I haven't had good Chinese food in years, I grinned. Chinese food it is. I backed out of the driveway, leaving the warm lights of my parents' house behind. Through the window I could see shadows moving around my family, probably still in shock, probably arguing about what had just happened. For the first time in 8 years, I didn't care what they thought. I was done being invisible. The Golden Dragon restaurant in Chinatown was nearly empty when we arrived. Just an elderly couple in the corner and a young family with 2 kids. Most of Portland was home with their families, eating turkey and stuffing. But here we were, soaked from the rain, sitting in a vinyl booth under fluorescent lights, and I'd never felt more free. This is perfect, Grandma said, looking around at the red and gold decorations. The paper lanterns swaying slightly from the ceiling vent. Absolutely perfect. The owner, a woman in her 60s with kind eyes, came over with menus and a pot of tea. Just 2 of you tonight? Just us, I confirmed. Thanksgiving at home, complicated, she asked with a knowing smile. Very, Grandma said. So we escaped. The woman laughed. Good choice. I have spring rolls just made fresh. On the house, for fellow escapees. My phone had been buzzing constantly in my purse. I could feel it vibrating against my side. I pulled it out and looked at the screen. 17 missed calls. 23 text messages. All from family. Mom. Sarah, Elizabeth Morrison, call me right now. Jennifer. What the hell? Mom is freaking out. Marcus. This was really immature. You embarrassed everyone, Aunt Linda. How dare you disrespect your mother like this? Victoria, are you okay? That was intense. Double quotes, and several more from Mom, each getting progressively more frantic. I showed the phone to Grandma, who put on her reading glasses and scrolled through the messages. She said, handing it back. Notice anything? They're all mad at me? Not one of them asked why you left. Not one of them acknowledged that maybe they did something wrong. It's all about how you embarrassed them, how you're being immature, how you disrespected your mother. She took off her glasses and looked at me seriously. Not one apology. She was right. I turned off my phone and put it in my purse. We'll deal with them later, Grandma said. Tonight is ours. We ordered enough food for 4 people. Dumplings and lo mein, kung pao chicken and beef with broccoli, egg rolls and fried rice. When it arrived, we ate slowly, talking about everything except the family we just left behind. Grandma told me about her week, the book club she'd attended, the new couple who'd moved in next door, the stray cat that kept visiting her porch. I told her about work, about the project I was managing, about my boss who'd actually complimented me last week. You're good at what you do, Grandma said. I hope you know that. I'm just an administrative assistant, Grandma. Just? She set down her chopsticks. Sarah, you coordinate an entire office. You manage schedules, handle crises, keep everything running smoothly. That takes skill and intelligence. Don't diminish yourself just because your family doesn't see your value. I felt tears prick my eyes. Why do you see me when they don't? Grandma was quiet for a moment, her hand wrapping around her teacup. Because I pay attention. Because I remember what it was like to be invisible in my own family. She looked up at me. Did you know I was the youngest of 5 girls? My sisters were all beautiful, talented, married well. I was the plain one, the quiet one, the one who took care of our mother when she got sick. I never knew that. Nobody asks. She smiled sadly. Your grandfather saw me, though. Really saw me. That's why I married him. Not because he had money or status, but because when he looked at me, he saw Rose, not just the helpful daughter. I want that for you, Sarah. I want someone who sees you. I had that once, I admitted. David, remember him, the teacher? Of course I remember. You were happy with him, until Mom convinced me he'd never be able to provide the life I deserved, that I should want more, do more, be more. I pushed my rice around my plate, so I broke up with him. He's married now. To someone who appreciated him. Grandma reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Your mother loves you. But she has very specific ideas about what success looks like, and she's been trying to fit you into that mold your whole life. You're not Victoria, and you're not supposed to be. Then who am I supposed to be? Yourself. Which is exactly who you were tonight. We finished dinner as the rain continued outside, drumming steadily against the windows. The owner brought us fortune cookies and smiled at us like we were her favorite customers. I cracked mine open and read the fortune aloud. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. Well, that's appropriately profound, Grandma said, opening hers. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. She laughed. I think the universe is telling us something, that we made the right choice, that we started something important tonight. And there's no going back, only forward. After we paid the bill, the owner still insisted the spring rolls and tea were free. We sat in my car in the parking lot, the rain finally starting to let up. Do you want me to take you home? I asked. Actually, Grandma said slowly, I was wondering if I could stay at your place tonight. I don't really want to be alone, and I suspect your mother will be calling my house all night. Of course, I'd love that, and I meant it. Though my apartment is small. You'd have to take the bed and I'll sleep on the couch. I'll sleep on the couch. Grandma, I'm old, not dead. I can handle a couch for one night. She smiled. Besides, I used to fall asleep on the couch all the time when your grandfather would watch his late-night westerns. Kinda miss it, actually. We drove through the wet streets of Portland, the city lights reflecting off puddles, everything clean and fresh from the rain. My phone buzzed in my purse again, but I ignored it. My apartment was in a converted house in Hawthorne, a one-bedroom on the 2nd floor with slanted ceilings and hardwood floors that creaked. It was small, maybe 600 square feet, but it was mine. I decorated it with thrift store finds and plants, made it cozy and warm. I love what you've done with the place, Grandma said, looking around. It feels like you. Victoria said it was too small, I said before I could stop myself. Victoria's loft probably feels like a hotel. This feels like a home. Grandma settled onto the couch and I brought her pillows and blankets. This is nice. Really nice. I made us chamomile tea and we sat together, not talking much, just being together. It felt peaceful in a way Thanksgiving dinner never had. Sarah, Grandma said eventually, I need to tell you something. About my will. Grandma, we don't have to talk about hush. Listen. She set down her tea. I've made arrangements. The house, my house, it's going to you. I stare at her. What? When I die, the house goes to you. I had my lawyer draw up the papers last month. But what about Mom, Aunt Linda? They'll survive. They have their own homes, their own lives. You're the one who's been there for me. You're the one who loves that house. It should be yours. Grandma, I can't, except you can, and you will. It's done, Sarah. The papers are signed. She looked at me seriously. You've earned it. Every Wednesday for 8 years, every emergency at midnight, every doctor's appointment, every fix-it project. You've earned it. Tears spilled down my cheeks. I didn't do any of that for a house. I know. That's exactly why you should have it. She pulled me into a hug. Now stop crying and let an old lady get some sleep. I set her up with everything she needed and went to my bedroom, but I didn't sleep. I lay in my bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything that had happened. I'd walked out on Thanksgiving, I'd confronted my family, I'd taken a stand, and it felt terrifying and liberating all at once. My phone sat on my nightstand, still buzzing occasionally. I knew I'd have to face the messages eventually, face the consequences of what I'd done, but not tonight. Tonight I had my grandmother safe in my living room, and for the first time in 8 years, I felt like I'd done something right. I woke up Friday morning to the smell of coffee and the sound of Grandma humming in my kitchen. For a moment, still foggy with sleep, I thought I was a child again, waking up at her house during a sleepover. Then I remembered Thanksgiving, the walkout, everything that had happened. I grabbed my phone from the nightstand. 34 missed calls, 47 text messages, 3 voicemails. With a deep breath, I opened the messages. Mom, 11:47 p.m. We need to talk. This has gone far enough. Mom, 12:15 a.m. Your father is very upset. Call me first thing in the morning. Marcus, 1:02 a.m. You've really done it now. Mom's talking about her heart palpitations. Jennifer, 8:03 a.m. Mom wants a family meeting. Dad's threatening to come to your apartment. And then one from Victoria, sent it to 14 a.m. Hey, I've been thinking about what you said. Can we talk? Just us? I stared at that last one for a long moment before I heard Grandma call from the kitchen. Coffee's ready, and I've found your eggs. I pulled on my robe and shuffled into the kitchen. Grandma was at my stove, wearing one of my oversized sweatshirts over her dress from yesterday, making scrambled eggs like she owned the place. She looked better than she had in months, color in her cheeks, energy in her movements. Good morning, sunshine, she said cheerfully. Sleep well? Not really. You? Best sleep I've had in weeks. Your couch is very comfortable. She plated the eggs and handed me a fork. Now, I saw your phone light up about 100 times. What's the damage? I showed her the messages while we ate. She read through them silently, her expression growing darker. Your mother's heart palpitations, she muttered. She's been having heart palpitations since 1987 whenever she doesn't get her way. Last time was when your brother wanted to marry Beth instead of that awful girl Linda picked out for him. Despite everything, I laughed. I forgot about that. The family meeting, though. That's serious. Grandma set down her coffee. They're going to try to gang up on you, make you apologize, make you feel like you were wrong. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I overreacted. Stop. Grandma's voice was sharp. Don't do that. Don't start second-guessing yourself because they're applying pressure. You were right to stand up for yourself. You were right to leave. The question is, what are you going to do now? I thought about it while I finished my eggs. What did I want? An apology? Acknowledgement? Or did I want something deeper, a fundamental change in how my family treated me? I think I need to go to this family meeting, I said slowly, but on my terms. Not at Mom's house where she controls everything. Somewhere neutral. Smart girl. I picked up my phone and called Mom. She answered on the first ring. Sarah. Finally, where is your grandmother? Is she with you? Yes, she's with me. She's fine. She's not fine. She's 86 years old and you dragged her out in the rain. I didn't drag her anywhere. She chose to leave. We both did. Silence. Then, we're having a family meeting today. 2 o'clock. Here at the house. No? Excuse me? I said, no, Mom. If you want to meet, we'll meet at a neutral location. The Starbucks on Macadam. 3 o'clock. And just the immediate family. You, Dad, Marcus, Jennifer. No Aunt Linda, no Victoria. You don't get to dictate terms to us, young lady. Actually, I do. Those are my conditions. Take them or leave them. Another silence. Longer this time. I could practically hear her recalculating. Fine, she said tightly. 3 o'clock. But your grandmother will be with me. She's an adult who can make her own choices. I hung up before she could respond, my hand shaking slightly. Grandma was beaming at me. That's my girl, she said proudly. The rest of the morning passed in a strange, suspended calm. I showered and dressed carefully, jeans and a nice sweater, my good boots, armor for battle, but comfortable armor. Grandma and I ran to her house so she could change and pack a bag, since she insisted on staying with me for a few days. Just until this blows over, she said. Or until they learn to behave. At 2:45 we arrived at the Starbucks. It was crowded with post-Thanksgiving shoppers and people working on laptops, the noise and bustle providing a buffer. Nobody could yell here. Nobody could make a scene. Mom and Dad were already there, sitting at a corner table, both looking grim. Marcus showed up a few minutes later, still in his Black Friday shopping clothes. Jennifer arrived last, looking uncomfortable. I pulled up chairs for Grandma and myself and we sat down. For a long moment, nobody spoke. "Well, Dad," finally said, "I hope you're proud of yourself. You ruined Thanksgiving." "I didn't ruin anything," I said calmly. "I set a boundary. You threw a tantrum." Mom's voice was rising and several people glanced over. She lowered it. "Over a seat." "A seat, Sarah. It wasn't about the seat," I said. "It was about what the seat represented. It was about years of being taken for granted." "We don't take you for granted," Marcus said, but he didn't sound convinced. "Really? When's the last time any of you asked about my life? My job? My friends? When's the last time anyone thanked me for everything I do for Grandma?" "You're her granddaughter," Mom said. "It's your responsibility." "No," Grandma interrupted sharply. "It's not her responsibility any more than it's Marcus's or Jennifer's. But Sarah is the only one who shows up, the only one who helps, the only one who cares." "That's not fair, Mom," Dad started. "Isn't it? When's the last time you visited me, Daniel? When's the last time you helped with anything?" "Sarah drives me to the doctor at 6 in the morning. Sarah fixes my toilet when it breaks. Sarah brings my groceries every Wednesday. What do you do?" Dad's face went red. "We have our own lives, so does Sarah. But she makes time, and you people don't even thank her. You put her at the worst seat at the table and give the place of honor to Victoria, who barely knows any of us anymore." "Victoria is very successful," Mom said defensively. "We were celebrating her achievements." "And what about Sarah's achievements?" Grandma demanded. "She's kept an entire office running for 5 years. She's managed projects and handled crises. She's built a life for herself. But you don't celebrate that because it doesn't look like what you wanted for her." Mom's lips pressed into a thin line. "Sarah has so much potential. If she just applied herself, applied myself." I felt anger rising. "I work 45 hours a week. I take care of Grandma. I help you whenever you ask. How much more am I supposed to apply myself, Mom? You could have gone to graduate school. You could have been something. I am something." The words burst out of me. "I am something right now. I'm good at my job. I have friends. I have a life. Just because it doesn't look like Victoria's doesn't mean it's less valuable." The table went silent. Jennifer was staring at her coffee cup. Marcus looked uncomfortable. Mom's eyes were shining with tears. "I just wanted more for you," Mom said quietly. "You wanted Victoria for me," I corrected. "You wanted me to be someone I'm not. And in the process you stopped seeing who I actually am." Dad cleared his throat. "This family meeting is getting off track. The point is, you embarrassed us." "No," I said firmly. "The point is that I'm done being invisible. I'm done shrinking myself to make everyone else comfortable. I'm done being the reliable one who gets taken for granted." I looked around the table. "I love you all, but I need you to see me, to value me, to treat me like I matter." "You do matter," Jennifer said suddenly. Everyone turned to look at her. She was crying. "You do, Sarah, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't stand up for you yesterday. I'm sorry I never thank you for everything you do. You're always there for everyone and we just expect it." It was the first apology I'd gotten. "Thank you," I whispered. Marcus shifted in his seat. "I'm sorry too. I called you immature, but you weren't. You were just finally standing up for yourself. That took guts." 2 apologies. Mom and Dad were silent, looking at each other. "We didn't mean to make you feel invisible," Dad said finally, grudgingly. "But walking out like that was necessary," Grandma cut in. "Sometimes people don't listen until you make them listen. Sarah's been trying to tell you how she feels for years, but you weren't hearing her. Yesterday you heard her." Mom wiped her eyes. "I do see you, Sarah. I know I'm hard on you. But it's because I want the best for you. The best for me is being accepted for who I am," I said. "Not constantly compared to Victoria. Not made to feel like I'm not enough." "You are enough," Mom said, and her voice cracked. "You're more than enough. I'm sorry if I made you feel otherwise. It wasn't a perfect apology. It didn't fix everything, but it was a start. I need things to change," I said. "I need to be treated with respect. I need my contributions to be acknowledged. And I need you all to remember that I have my own life, my own boundaries. I can't always be the one who drops everything to help." "That's fair," Marcus said. "We can do that," Jennifer added. Dad nodded slowly. Mom looked like she wanted to argue but bit her tongue. "And one more thing," I said. "Grandma is staying with me for a while. That's her choice, and I need you to respect it." "For how long?" Mom asked. "As long as she wants," I said firmly. Grandma smiled and squeezed my hand under the table. We talked for another hour, hashing things out. It was uncomfortable and awkward, and there were moments when old patterns tried to reassert themselves. But something had shifted. My family was actually listening to me, maybe for the first time in years. When we finally left, hugging awkwardly in the parking lot, I felt exhausted but lighter somehow, like I'd been carrying a weight I didn't even know was there, and I'd finally set it down. On the drive home, Grandma said, "You did good today, sweetheart. Really good. It's not fixed," I said. "Not completely, no. But it's a start, and that's all you needed, a start." Back at my apartment, I finally checked Victoria's message. She'd sent another one. "I'm in town until Sunday. Coffee tomorrow. I owe you an apology." I stared at it for a long moment, then typed back, "Okay, Common Grounds, 10 a.m. Whatever happened next, I was ready for it." Saturday morning was crisp and clear, the rain finally gone, leaving Portland washed clean and bright. I arrived at Common Grounds 10 minutes early, armed with coffee and uncertainty. I'd spent half the night wondering what Victoria wanted to say, whether this was genuine or just another performance. She walked in exactly at 10, looking different from Thanksgiving. No designer dress today, just jeans, a casket sweater, and minimal makeup. She looked tired, almost human. "Hey," she said, sliding into the seat across from me. "Thanks for meeting me. I'm surprised you wanted to." Victoria ordered a latte from the barista, then turned back to me. For a long moment, she just looked at me, and I was struck by how much older she seemed than just 2 days ago. "I couldn't stop thinking about what you said," she began. "At Thanksgiving, about being invisible, about always showing up and never being seen. It kept me up all night." "Why?" "Because you were right. About all of it." She wrapped her hands around her coffee cup like she needed something to hold on to. "I've been the golden child my whole life, I know that. Everyone knows that. But I never really thought about what that meant for you. For Marcus and Jennifer. I just took it for granted." I didn't say anything, just waited. My mom, your Aunt Linda, she's been living through me since I was little. Every achievement, every success, it's hers too somehow. And your mom, she holds me up as this example of what you should be." Victoria laughed bitterly. "It's exhausting, Sarah. It's fucking exhausting being perfect all the time." "You're not perfect," I said quietly. "I know, but I have to pretend I am. The engagement to Richard. We've been fighting for months. The job, I'm so burned out I can barely function. The apartment, it's gorgeous and empty and I hate it." She looked up at me with eyes that were suddenly shiny with tears. "I come to Portland twice a year and I perform. I tell everyone how great my life is, and they eat it up, and I feel like the loneliest person in the world." I'd never seen Victoria like this, raw, vulnerable, real. It was disorienting. "But you have everything," I heard myself say. "The career, the relationship, the life in New York. I have what my mother wanted for me, what your mother wanted for you. I don't know if I have what I wanted for myself." She wiped her eyes. "Do you know what I thought when you walked out on Thanksgiving? I thought, God, I wish I could do that. Just walk away from all the expectations and the pressure and the performing. So why don't you?" "Because I'm a coward." She laughed through tears. "Because it's easier to keep pretending than to admit that I'm not happy, that maybe I never was." We sat in silence for a moment. Around us, the coffee shop hummed with Saturday morning energy couples on dates, students studying, friends catching up. Normal life happening all around us. "I'm sorry," Victoria said finally, "for treating you like you didn't matter. For taking the best seat at the table. For asking what you did for a living, like it was beneath me. For all of it. You were right to call me out. It was a real apology. Not defensive, not qualified, just real. Thank you," I said. "I don't expect us to be best friends or anything," Victoria continued. "I know I've been awful, but I wanted you to know what you did took courage. Standing up like that, setting boundaries, refusing to be invisible. I respect the hell out of that. It didn't feel courageous. It felt terrifying. That's what courage is, though. Doing the terrifying thing anyway." She took a sip of her latte. "I'm thinking about breaking up with Richard." I blinked. "What?" "He's a good guy. Successful, handsome, everything my mom wanted. But I don't love him. I don't even like him that much. We're just two successful people who look good together on paper." She set down her cup. "Watching you walk away from that table, choosing yourself over everyone's expectations, it made me realize I've never done that. Not once in my entire life." "What are you going to do?" "I don't know yet. That's the scary part, not knowing. But staying in a life that makes me miserable because it looks good from the outside. That's scarier." She smiled weakly. "You inspired me, Sarah, weird as that sounds." We talked for another hour. Really talked, maybe for the first time ever. Victoria told me about the pressure from her mom, the demands of her job, the loneliness of her supposedly perfect life. I told her about the years of feeling invisible, the weight of being the reliable one, the fear that I'd never be enough. You are enough, Victoria said firmly. You're more real than I've been in years. You have actual relationships with people, actual meaning in your life. I've just been collecting achievements like they're going to fill some hole inside me. When we finally hugged goodbye in the parking lot, it felt different from the air kisses of Thanksgiving. It felt genuine. Let me know how things go, I said. With Richard, with everything, I will. And Sarah, thank you for being brave enough to show me what it looks like. I drove home feeling strange, lighter and heavier all at once. Victoria's confession had shifted something in me, made me see the whole family dynamic differently. We'd all been trapped in our roles. Victoria the golden child, me the invisible helper, Marcus and Jennifer the ones who stayed out of conflict. Everyone performing for each other, nobody really being seen. At my apartment, Grandma was reading on the couch, looking cozy and content. How'd it go with Victoria? She asked. Surprisingly well, she apologized. Really apologized. Good. Grandma set down her book. That girl's been drowning in expectations her whole life. Maybe your act of rebellion will help her find her own. She said I inspired her. Of course you did. You showed her it was possible to choose yourself. Grandma patted the couch next to her. Come sit. I want to talk to you about something. I sat, suddenly nervous. Is everything okay? Everything's fine. Better than fine, actually. She took my hand. I've been thinking about what comes next. For both of us. What do you mean? I'm 86 years old, Sarah. I'm not going to be around forever. And I don't want to spend whatever time I have left being a burden or living alone in that big house, waiting for my weekly visits. You're not a burden, hush. Listen, she squeezed my hand. I want to sell the house. I stared at her. But you said it's supposed to go to me. I know what I said. But I've been thinking about it differently now. What if instead of leaving you the house after I die, I sell it now while I can enjoy watching you benefit from it? Use the money to help you buy a bigger place, somewhere with room for both of us. Both of us? If you'll have me, I'd like to live with you, Sarah. Officially. Not as your patient, but as your roommate. Your family. Her eyes were bright. We could find a nice house, maybe in Selwood or Eastmoreland. Something with 2 bedrooms, a garden. Split the mortgage. Build a life together. Tears spilled down my cheeks. Grandma, are you serious? Completely serious. You're the person I want to spend my remaining time with. Not stuck in my old house full of memories, not parked in front of the TV waiting for Wednesdays. I want to live, Sarah. Really live with someone who sees me. Who I see. She wiped my tears with her thumb. What do you say? Yes, I whispered. Yes, of course, yes. We hugged, both of us crying now, and I felt something slot into place in my chest. This was what family was supposed to feel like. Chosen. Mutual. Based on love and respect rather than obligation. We'll start looking at houses next week, Grandma said, pulling back and smiling through her tears. Something with good light. And a big kitchen so we can cook together, and a garden for your roses, and a porch where we can drink coffee in the mornings. We spent the rest of the day talking about possibilities, looking at real estate listings online, dreaming about what our new life together might look like. For the first time in as long as I could remember, I felt excited about the future instead of anxious. That evening, as we made dinner together in my tiny kitchen, my phone rang. It was Mom. Hi, Mom. Hi, sweetheart. I was wondering, could I come over tomorrow? I'd like to talk more. Just us. I glanced at Grandma, who nodded encouragingly. Sure. Tomorrow afternoon works. Thank you, Sarah. I've been doing a lot of thinking about what you said, about everything. After we hung up, Grandma smiled at me. See? Things are changing. Slowly, but they're changing. Because I stood up for myself. Because you finally showed them who you really are. And you're giving them the chance to rise to the occasion. That night, lying in bed, I thought about everything that had happened in just 3 days. I'd walked out on Thanksgiving dinner. I'd confronted my family. I'd received apologies from my siblings and my cousin. I'd made plans for a new life with Grandma. 3 days ago, I'd been invisible. Now I was visible, maybe for the first time in my adult life. And it had all started with refusing to accept the worst seat at the table. Mom showed up in my apartment Sunday afternoon, carrying a potted orchid and a nervous expression. I'd spent the morning cleaning, not because the place was dirty, but because I needed something to do with my hands while I waited. Hi, she said when I opened the door. I brought this for you. I know you like plants. It was such a small gesture, but it meant something. Mom had noticed that I liked plants. She'd paid attention to something about me. Thank you. Come in. Grandma had tactfully disappeared to the bedroom to give us privacy. Mom settled onto the couch, looking around my apartment with what seemed like genuine interest. This is lovely, Sarah. Really lovely. I don't think I've ever really looked at it before. You've been here a few times, I know, but I never really saw it. She touched the throw pillow next to her, handmade by a friend. I never really saw you either, not clearly. I sat in the armchair across from her, waiting. I've been up for 2 nights thinking about what you said, Mom continued, about being invisible, about feeling like you didn't matter. And I realized you were right. I've been so focused on what I wanted you to be that I stopped seeing what you are, which is kind, reliable, strong, creative in your own quiet way. Her voice cracked. A better daughter than I've been a mother, honestly. Mom, no, let me finish. Please. She took a deep breath. I look at Victoria and I see success the way I was taught to recognize it: money, status, the corner office. I wanted that for you because I thought that's what would make you happy. But I never asked what would actually make you happy. I tried to tell you, I said quietly, many times, I know, and I didn't listen. I was too busy pushing you toward my vision to hear yours. She wiped her eyes. Your father and I, we struggled when you kids were young. Money was tight, opportunities were limited. I wanted more for you, but somewhere along the way, I confused more with different. I made you feel like who you were wasn't good enough. It hurt, I admitted. It still hurts sometimes, I know. And I'm so sorry. Mom reached into her purse and pulled out an envelope. I want to show you something. Inside was a stack of photos, me at various ages. 6 years old, gap-toothed and grinning, holding a trophy from a spelling bee. 12, at a science fair with my project on plant biology. 16, in my bookstore work uniform, stacking shelves. 25, at my college graduation, the degree I'd earned while working full-time. I've carried these with me for years, Mom said. You were always so determined, so focused. You worked harder than anyone I knew, but I was so busy wishing you'd aim for something that looked more impressive that I forgot to be proud of what you were actually achieving. I looked at the photos through blurred vision. You kept these? Of course I did. You're my daughter. I love you, Sarah. I've always loved you. I just... I failed you. I made you feel invisible when you should have felt celebrated. We both cried then. The kind of crying that empties you out and fills you up at the same time. When we finally composed ourselves, Mom said, I want to do better. I want to really see you, to value you for who you are. Can you give me that chance? Yes, I said. But Mom, it has to actually change. Not just words, actions, I understand, and I'm going to prove it to you. She hesitated. Your grandmother told me about the house, about her plan to sell and live with you. I tensed, waiting for the objection. I think it's wonderful, Mom said, surprising me. She'd be happy with you, and you two have always had something special. I was jealous of it sometimes, honestly. Jealous? She looks at you the way I wish I'd let myself look at you, with uncomplicated pride and joy. No agenda, no expectations beyond wanting you to be happy. Mom smiled sadly. I want to learn how to do that, to just be proud of you for being you. That would mean a lot. We talked for another hour, really talked. Mom asked about my job and actually listened to my answers. She asked about my friends, my hobbies, my life. She told me about her own mother, my other grandmother, who died when I was young, and how those same impossible expectations had been placed on her. I promised myself I'd be different, Mom said, but I just repeated the pattern. I'm sorry for that. When she stood to leave, she hugged me tight. I love you, Sarah, the real you. I'm going to do better at showing that. After she left, Grandma emerged from the bedroom. How'd it go? Good. Really good, actually. She apologized. Really apologized. Your mother loves you fiercely. She's just been showing it in all the wrong ways. Grandma sat down next to me. But people can change, if they're motivated. And you walking out on Thanksgiving? That motivated her. The following weeks brought more changes. Marcus invited me to lunch, just the two of us, and asked about my life for the first time in years. Jennifer started texting me memes and funny stories from her day, building a relationship that wasn't based on family obligation. Even Dad called once, awkwardly asking about work and actually seeming interested in the answer. But the biggest change was Victoria. She broke up with Richard 2 weeks after Thanksgiving. The family freaked out, Aunt Linda especially, but Victoria held firm. She told me later, over the phone, that she'd channeled my Thanksgiving walkout. I just kept thinking, what would Sarah do? And then I did it. She cut back her hours at work, started therapy, and began figuring out who she was outside of everyone's expectations. We started talking regularly, building something that felt like a real relationship instead of a performance. You started a revolution, she told me during one call. The whole family is reassessing things. It's chaos, but it's good chaos. Grandma and I found a house in early December, charming craftsman in Selwood with 2 bedrooms, a big kitchen, and a garden just waiting for spring roses. The sale of Grandma's old house more than covered the down payment, and we moved in right after Christmas. Christmas itself was different that year. We had it at our new house, mine and Grandma's house, and everyone came to us. Mom helped cook and actually complimented my dishes. Dad fixed a leaky faucet without being asked. Marcus and Jennifer pitched in with setup and cleanup. Even Victoria flew in from New York, looking lighter and happier than I'd ever seen her. And when we sat down to dinner, nobody assigned seats. "Sit wherever you want," I said, gesturing to the table Grandma and I had set up. Everyone kind of shuffled awkwardly for a moment, then naturally found their places. I ended up between Grandma and Mom, with Victoria across from me. No best seat, no worst seat. Just family, sitting together. Before we ate, Dad cleared his throat. "I'd like to say something." He looked uncomfortable, but determined. "This year has been ... educational, for all of us. We've had to look at ourselves and how we treat each other, and we've had to face some hard truths." He looked at me. "Sarah, you showed us that speaking up is important, that boundaries matter, that being there for someone doesn't mean accepting being taken for granted. Thank you for that, for being brave enough to demand better from us." "Hear, hear," Marcus said, raising his glass. Everyone toasted, and I felt tears prick my eyes. "I'm proud of you, sweetheart," Mom said quietly, just to me. "So proud." After dinner, as I was doing dishes, Victoria came to help dry. "So," she said, "I've been thinking." "Dangerous," I teased. "Shut up," she bumped my shoulder. "I've been thinking about moving back to Portland. Not to the family, but just ... here, closer. To actually build relationships instead of just visiting to perform." "Really?" "Really. I found a good therapist here, and I've got some interviews lined up. Smaller companies, less pressure. I want to build a life that's actually mine, you know?" She smiled at me. "Like you did." "I didn't build anything special," I said. "I just ... stopped accepting less than I deserved. That's the special part." Victoria set down her towel and turned to face me. "A year ago, if someone had told me I'd be taking life advice from you, I would have laughed. But you've got it figured out in ways I never did. You know who you are. You don't apologize for it. That's rare. I apologized for it for years, but not anymore. And watching you stop, that changed everything for me." Later that night, after everyone had gone home, Grandma and I sat in our living room, surrounded by the happy chaos of a day well spent. Our first Christmas in our house. Our home. "This is nice," Grandma said contentedly. "This is really nice." "It is," I agreed. "You know what the best part is?" She looked at me with those sharp blue eyes. "You don't look invisible anymore. You look seen. Like you're finally taking up the space you always deserved." I thought about the past month, the confrontations, the apologies, the changes. The way my family looked at me now, really looked at me. The way I looked at myself. "I walked out on Thanksgiving dinner," I said, "and walked into my real life. Sometimes that's what it takes. Sometimes you have to refuse the worst seat to realize you deserve better than just a seat at the table. You deserve to build your own table." I looked around our home, the one we'd built together, the one that was ours. The photos on the walls, the books on the shelves, the plants in the windows. Every detail chosen with care, reflecting who we really were. "We built a pretty good table," I said. Grandma smiled. "The best." My phone buzzed with a text from Mom. "Thank you for today. It was perfect. You're perfect." "I love you," I typed back. "Love you too, Mom," and I meant it. Because that's the thing about standing up for yourself. It doesn't just change how others see you, it changes how you see them too. It clears away the resentment and the hurt and makes room for something real. My family wasn't perfect. They still had moments where they fell back into old patterns, where they forgot to really see me, but they were trying. And more importantly, I was no longer willing to accept being invisible. I've taken the worst seat at the table and turned it into the best seat in the house, the one I built myself, in a home where I was valued, seen, and loved for exactly who I was. And if they forgot that, well, I knew how to walk away now, and I knew I could take Grandma with me. But I hoped I wouldn't have to, because for the first time in 8 years I felt like I finally had a family that saw me, and I was done being invisible.